Why do some people keep moving forward even when life hurls pain, failure, and loneliness their way? While most of us crumble at the first hint of exhaustion or a single stumble, they rise again, quietly, relentlessly. We chase quick success and validation, only to lose ourselves in the process. But that rare 1%, they live differently. They don't boast. They don't seek applause. They endure in silence, shaping themselves through discipline, calm, and an inner stillness as steady as forged steel. They understand that true strength doesn't come from the outside. It's born from mastery within. That's the essence of Stoicism, the philosophy of stillness amid storms, of reason amid chaos, and of peace amid ambition. This video isn't a fleeting dose of motivation. It's a journey of awakening, an invitation to look inward, where fear, weakness, and untapped potential are all waiting to be heard. Over the next 8 parts, you'll discover why only 1% of people are truly resilient, how they turn pain into power, solitude into strength, and walk with an unshakable calm that no one can disturb. And the most important truth is this: you can become one of them. You don't need to be born extraordinary. You only need the courage to face yourself, to stay the course, and to begin. Because the path of the 1% doesn't start with an advantage. It starts with a decision. From today, I will master myself. Number 1. What it means to be the 1%. The 1% mindset sounds like a badge of success. The summit, the realm of people who are above the rest. In truth, it means one thing: choosing differently when everyone else chooses easily. In a world that keeps shouting, do more, faster, louder, the 1% choose to move slowly, stay clear, and act with intention. They aren't chasing applause. They're earning their own respect. You know the feeling, waking up, facing the mirror, and catching that quiet, dull disappointment in your eyes. You don't hate your job or your life, but you hate knowing you could do better and still not doing it. It's that space between potential and procrastination. That gray zone is where 99% of people live. They know, but they don't act. They want, but they don't start. The 1% have been there too. The difference is they don't stay long. They understand that change doesn't come to you. It comes from you. And the scariest outcome isn't failure. It's continuing as you are. So they choose to move. They don't wait to be ready. They act to become ready. When the world complains, they work. When the world makes excuses, it finds a way. When the world says, I can't, they whisper, I'll try again. Why does the 1% mindset matter? Because if you don't lead your mind, it will lead you. Most of us live like leaves in the wind, blown around by emotions, circumstances, and other people. The 1% live like a tree, able to sway, but hard to break. They know real power isn't about controlling everything. It's about not letting everything control you. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The 1% don't get an easier life. They just respond differently. When hardship hits, they don't ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What is this teaching me?" Obstacles aren't enemies, they're life's exams, chances to prove their steadiness through action. So how do you live like the 1% with deadlines, duties, and fatigue? Start with the small things you keep avoiding. Every time you say tomorrow, you're postponing self-respect. Every "I don't have time" is really "I'm not prioritizing myself." The 1% get this. They don't overhaul everything. They commit to one rule: today, move 1% forward. When you're tired, they're tired too. But they still get up. When you want to quit, they want to as well. But they stay. When emotions surge, theirs do too. But they breathe, step back, and continue. They're not superheroes. They just train daily to master what most people let slip: the mind. Remember Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome and a human being surrounded by chaos, loss, and betrayal. In the midst of war, he spent his nights writing in meditations, notes to himself. He reminded himself not to rage, not to blame, not to forget that tomorrow isn't guaranteed. He understood. Strength isn't defeating others. It's refusing to let the world steal your inner peace. That is the real meaning of becoming the 1%. Not to be called the best, but to stay awake in a world that's asleep. The 1% don't run from pain. They walk through it. They don't fear solitude. They use it to rebuild. They don't wait for motivation. They manufacture it through discipline. So when you feel lost, don't run. Stop. Look straight at the place that hurts most and ask, what am I avoiding? The moment you face it, you've already stepped away from the other 99%. Number 2, the slow fire of greatness. While others are still searching for shortcuts to success, you realize there are none. Greatness never happens overnight. It grows slowly, painfully slowly, like a fire sparked by calloused hands, trembling, faint, but steady. The slow flame of greatness isn't the rush of excitement you feel in your first few days of motivation. It's the quiet glow that keeps burning even when the excitement is gone. It's that part of you that doesn't need applause, doesn't need an audience, just the quiet assurance that you're still moving forward. We live in an age of now. Everyone wants instant results, a perfect body in 30 days, a promotion in 6 months, peace of mind after a weekend retreat. But that mindset makes the human spirit fragile. When results don't come as fast as expected, people give up. They think they're not good enough when in truth, they're simply impatient. They forget that all greatness moves to its own rhythm, like a pine tree that grows only on mountain cliffs, where the wind is fiercest, like a diamond that takes millions of years of pressure to form. If you want to be among the 1%, you must learn to live with a slow but steady pace. You must be brave enough to keep going when others have stopped. The 1% understands something simple. Greatness doesn't explode, it accumulates. They don't chase the spotlight. They build foundations. They know that every small act adds to the bigger picture. Waking up early, resisting procrastination, reading a single page, and holding back an unnecessary word, each is a brick in the structure of progress. You might not see the result today, but persistence guarantees that one day you will. That's the essence of the compound effect. Improving just 1% a day won't transform you overnight, but after 365 days, you won't just be 365% better, you'll be 38 times stronger. The real question is, do you have enough faith to keep going before the results show? I once spoke with a friend who had started 3 businesses and failed 3 times. After each failure, he questioned himself. Maybe I'm just not built for this. But instead of quitting, he went back to work as if he had never lost. 2 hours of study every morning, 1 hour every night to write down what he'd learned that day. 3 years later, he built a stable company. When I asked for his secret, he smiled and said, "There's no secret. I just didn't skip the days I didn't feel like working." That answer holds the spirit of Stoicism. Act not for reward, but because it's the right thing to do. You don't do it for praise. You do it because you know that skipping today means being weaker tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That simple sentence captures the essence of discipline, the compass that the 1% carry within. They don't let emotions dictate their actions. They let duty lead the way. Discipline, in Stoic philosophy, is the bridge between dreams and reality. They don't wait for inspiration. They build habits. They don't wait for energy. They generate it. They don't ask, "Do I feel like it?" They ask, "What is the right thing to do today?" You've seen these people before. The one who goes to the gym every morning, rain or shine. The one who writes while the world sleeps. The one who studies a new language each night, though no one is watching. These small acts may seem ordinary, but they are how the 1% live. They choose to do the right thing in silence. They don't post their effort online or talk endlessly about goals, because they know words never replace action. Perhaps you've been there too, starting something full of energy, only to stop when progress felt invisible. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, have you truly given your seed time to grow, or have you been digging it up each day to check? If you've made it this far, type the word resilience below, not for me, but for yourself. Let it remind you, you'll keep going, slowly but surely. Because the 1% don't win by speed, they win by endurance. Number 3, discipline, the bridge between dreams and reality. In this world obsessed with shortcuts and instant results, there's only one true path that takes you far: discipline. To the Stoics, discipline wasn't about restriction or control. It was the highest form of freedom. Because when you are no longer a slave to emotion, laziness, or delay, you are finally free to do what truly matters. Ordinary people live by inspiration. They act only when they feel like it. But inspiration is fleeting. It comes and goes like the wind. The 1% are different. They live by discipline. They act not out of feeling, but out of commitment. They know that every time they do what must be done, even when their mind resists, they are reinforcing the person they aspire to become. Discipline stands firm when everything else falls apart. It's the bridge between I want and I will. And if you look closely, that's exactly where 99% of people give up. They dream of a better life, but lack the discipline to endure the dull, lonely, and uncelebrated days. They crave change, but the moment hardship strikes, they retreat to comfort. The 1% understand a simple truth. The world doesn't reward wishes. It rewards consistency. But discipline isn't innate. It's forged in the smallest, most ordinary moments. When you set your alarm and actually get up when it rings. When you sit down to study, even though motivation is gone. When you say no to short-term pleasure to honor a long-term promise. Discipline is not born in glory, it's born in quiet discomfort. And it's in those unseen moments that your true character is built. I remember a friend once said, "I can't focus on writing. I need to feel inspired." I asked, if a soldier waited for inspiration before picking up his weapon, would he survive? Inspiration is the most dangerous liar. It shows up when you don't need it and disappears when you do. The 1% don't rely on inspiration. They rely on showing up every single day, rain or shine, joy or sorrow. Look around you. How many people join the gym in January only for it to empty by March? How many buy journals, make plans, then abandon them before results appear? How many say, "I'll change," yet every morning hide beneath the same blanket, avoiding their own promise? It's not because they're weak, it's because they haven't yet understood the power of discipline. Discipline is the silent oath between you and yourself. Every time you keep your word, you strengthen your self-trust. Every time you break it, you weaken your foundation. Each act of discipline sends a message to your subconscious. I am reliable. I am in control of my life. Over time, your mind believes it. That's how true confidence is built, not through motivational quotes, but through consistent action. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. He wasn't more talented than others, he was simply more disciplined. Jocko Willink, a former Navy SEAL, put it best: discipline equals freedom. Real freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's having the strength to do what you must, even when you don't want to. So when you feel tired, don't take it as a sign to stop. Take it as a test to see if you're worthy of continuing. When motivation fades, smile, because that's when your discipline is being forged. And if you can push through that moment, you'll move further than 99% of people ever will. The 1% aren't more talented than you. They're just more willing to do what others won't. They choose consistency over impulse, action over hesitation, and integrity, even when no one is watching. Number 4, the dark room, where strength is forged in silence. It's in that exact moment, when every light goes out, when the world falls silent, that they step into their own dark room. The dark room isn't a physical place. It's an inner space, a stillness where you come face to face with yourself. There are no cheers, no audience, no recognition. There's only you, your weakness, and a question that echoes endlessly. Will you keep going, even when no one's watching? The 1% understand that glory isn't born in the light, but in the darkness of days when no one knows your name. Like a seed that must decay in the soil before breaking through as a sprout, they know silence is the only environment where true strength can grow. In that space, failure is no longer shame. It's another layer of polish on the will. Every moment of solitude becomes a chance to listen within. The Stoics called this state ataraxia, calm in the midst of chaos. When you learn to be still amid noise, steady amid change, you don't just become stronger, you become free. Seneca once wrote, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests brave men." And the 1% know, no flame can destroy their spirit once they've learned to burn themselves into shape in the dark. Why is the dark room so essential? Because the world only sees outcomes, never the process. When people call you lucky, they don't see the 3 a.m. nights, the quiet moments you wanted to quit but chose to continue. In an age obsessed with exposure, where everyone wants to be seen, invisibility becomes a rare form of strength. You don't need to prove to the world that you're trying. You just need to prove to yourself that you haven't stopped. And that's what defines the 1%. So how do you bring the darkroom into your life? Start small. When you read one more page instead of scrolling through your phone, you're in a dark room. When you train, even though no one's watching, you're in the dark room. When you stay silent in the face of criticism instead of reacting impulsively, you're building inner strength. Each day, carve out a moment, even just 15 minutes, to sit with yourself. Observe your thoughts, acknowledge your emotions, and ask, what made me better today than I was yesterday? That's not a ritual. That's mental training. I once knew a friend who built his startup in complete silence for 3 years. No posts, no noise. He told me, I don't need the world to know what I'm doing. I just need to know I haven't stopped. When his company finally succeeded, everyone called it an overnight success. But it wasn't. It was the result of thousands of unseen hours spent in his own dark room. You're no different. Sometimes what you need isn't new advice, but enough silence to hear your own voice again. So ask yourself, do you dare to stay in the dark long enough to find your real light? Or do you just want the quick light, the kind that burns bright and dies fast? Real strength doesn't come from being seen. It comes from showing up, even when unseen, because only those who can live with darkness earn the right to walk in light without being blinded by it. If you're still here, you've made it halfway, which means you didn't give up. Save this message, and remember, darkness isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. And if you're ready, keep going. Because what comes next is where the light finally begins to rise, for those patient enough to endure their long night. Number 5, vision and the power of why. The 1% aren't different because they were born with special talent. They're different because they know why they do what they do. They don't chase the noise of the world. They walk to the rhythm of an inner calling. While 99% ask, what should I do to succeed? The 1% ask, why does this matter to me? It's a question most people aren't patient enough to answer. And in that impatience, they lose direction, lose themselves, and eventually lose faith that their efforts mean anything at all. Vision isn't just a goal. It's a lighthouse in the fog, the thing that keeps you steady when everything ahead disappears. When you have your why, you become dangerous, because you're no longer ruled by mood or circumstance. People with a strong enough reason never ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, what is this here to teach me? They understand that every challenge isn't a wall, but a test, a question from life asking, do you really want this? The Stoics called this living in alignment with one's natural purpose, to act in harmony with your highest self. When you live for something greater than your own comfort, fear loses its grip. Every trial becomes a stepping stone in the forging of who you are. A blacksmith doesn't run from the fire, he steps into it, knowing that only heat can strengthen steel. I once had a friend who worked tirelessly, chasing every opportunity just to build a better life. But when I asked, "What does better mean to you?" he had no answer. Each time he failed, he broke. Not because the loss was too heavy, but because his reason wasn't strong enough to help him rise again. Then one night, exhausted and unable to pretend he was fine, he asked himself, "Why do I really want to succeed?" That question hit him like a slap. After years of running, he finally realized his true reason. He just wanted his mother to live in peace, free from the struggles she had carried all her life. From that day on, he didn't need motivation anymore. Because once a person finds their why, strength follows naturally. The work was still hard. The pressure didn't vanish. But suddenly, it all meant something. And strangely enough, the moment he stopped chasing success, it came to him quietly, steadily, as if rewarding the man who stopped living for results and started living for meaning. Look at the people who changed the world. They didn't just want to achieve something. They wanted to leave something behind. The 1% think beyond personal success. They aim to make an impact, to leave the world different from how they found it. They know your destiny is shaped by the person you choose to become. Every action today is a brick in the foundation of who you'll be tomorrow. And if you feel lost, start again with one simple question. Why? Write it down. Repeat it every morning. When you know your why, the what and the how will reveal themselves, and you'll have the strength to see it through. The 1% don't rely on motivation. They move with vision. They don't crave praise. They're anchored by purpose. And they don't fear solitude. They understand that the greatest journeys always begin in silence. So, what are you living for? If your answer isn't clear yet, don't stop searching. Because the moment you find your why, the world will see you differently. And in that moment, you won't just be part of the crowd, you'll be part of the 1%. Number 6. The obstacle is the way, turning pain into power. Life doesn't go easy on those who haven't found a reason to keep walking. The world doesn't care how tired you are. It only cares if you can stand back up. The 1% understand that. They weren't born strong. They became strong through every fall that didn't destroy them. To them, pain isn't the enemy. It's the most honest, brutal teacher there is. The 99% run from pain. The 1% embrace it, knowing that pain is the price of growth. They understand that what weakens us isn't the wound itself, it's our refusal to face it. They don't erase failure, betrayal, or heartbreak. They keep them close, look them in the eye, and ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" In that moment, pain stops being a prison and becomes fuel. The Stoics called this amor fati, to love your fate, to love even what breaks you, because only when you embrace the darkness can you step into the light without fear. Have you ever hit rock bottom? The place where everything feels hollow, love lost, opportunities gone, faith shattered. You sit there wondering if there's anything left of you. Here's the truth, that's the beginning. Because at the bottom, there's nowhere left to fall, only up. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." The more the fire is tested, the brighter it burns. So it is with your mind. When used rightly, it can turn adversity into power. I once met a woman who lost everything in an accident. She had been a dancer. Her legs were her life. In one afternoon, it was all gone. For nearly a year, she drowned in depression. Then one day she said, "If I can't dance anymore, I'll teach others how to feel music with their hearts." 10 years later, she became one of the most inspiring teachers in her field. She didn't reclaim her legs, she reclaimed her purpose. That's what the 1% do. They don't demand life to be fair. They turn unfairness into firepower. The obstacle is the way. That's not philosophy. It's a hard truth. Every great door has a gatekeeper named pain. Avoid it, and you stay outside forever. Walk through it, and your life changes. The 1% aren't stronger than you. They just respond differently. When life knocks them down, they don't ask, "Why me?" They ask, "What can I do with this?" Here's the truth. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. When you learn to stand inside the storm without breaking, you stop fearing the storm because you become it. Every failure is a rebirth. Every betrayal teaches you to stay loyal to yourself. Every loss deepens your appreciation for what remains. If you're still here, maybe your life feels like chaos right now. Maybe you're hurting. Good. That means you're still alive. You're still fighting. Remember this. The pain you endure today becomes the strength you wield tomorrow. Today's pain is tomorrow's power. And if something inside you stirred while hearing this, share it, so it can reach someone else who's lost, like you once were. Maybe your single act will help another person stand up again. Because as long as you keep moving forward, no obstacle can truly stop you. Life is only testing whether you're ready to walk the long road that only the 1% dare to finish. Number 7, design your life, habits, environments, and reflection. Do you ever feel like you're living, but not really alive? Every morning, you promise yourself you'll change, yet you stay curled under the blanket for 5 more minutes. You say you want discipline, but your environment is full of temptations. You say you want peace, yet your own room hums with noise, clutter, notifications, and endless thoughts. You think your problem is weak willpower, but it's not. The problem lies in your design. People don't fail because they lack motivation. They fail because they live in environments built against their goals. The 1% understand something the rest forget. Behavior doesn't come from emotion. It comes from systems. You won't work out if your running shoes are buried in the closet. You won't read if your phone is always within reach. You won't find stillness if everything around you constantly demands your attention. The 1% don't wait for motivation. They design environments that make the right choice, the easy choice. An old friend of mine used to be the kind of person who said, "I'll start tomorrow." Every time he said it, I knew he wouldn't. Then one day, he moved. His new room was bare, no TV, no soft bed, no Wi-Fi. Just a wooden desk, a few books, and a piece of paper taped to the wall that read, "What did I do well today? What can I improve tomorrow?" A month later, he was unrecognizable. Not because he'd found some secret formula for success, but because he'd stripped away everything that was holding him back. He told me, When I cleaned my room, it felt like I cleaned myself. That's exactly what the Stoics understood. They didn't chase happiness because they knew happiness was a byproduct, not a goal. What they sought was order, harmony between thought and action, between the outer world and the inner one. They knew that to live well, one must live with structure, and structure is built from habit. Habits aren't chains that imprison your freedom. They're the walls that protect you from the chaos of your own mind. You think you're free when you do whatever you want, but that's an illusion. Real freedom is doing what you know is right, even when you don't feel like it. The 1% are free because they've trained themselves to be in control. And you can be, too, if you start small. Spend 10 quiet minutes each night reflecting. Write down what you did well and what you want to improve. It doesn't need to be long, just honest, because it's in that silence that knowledge becomes wisdom. There's a verse in the Bible that says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." You become what you think about every day. If your mind is cluttered, your life will be chaotic. If your mind is ordered, your life will be clear. And if you build the habit of reflection, to pause, to observe, to adjust, then each day you are rebuilding your soul. Face the truth. You can't control the world, but you can redesign your corner of it. You can't force yourself into discipline if your environment encourages delay. And you can't hear your inner voice if you never make time to listen. Life doesn't change in a moment. It changes in the systems you build, brick by brick, day by day. So ask yourself, am I living in a system that moves me forward or one that's holding me back? The answer might hurt, but it will set you free. The 1% don't wait for the world to give them a chance. They create it by designing themselves first. And you can start right now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, right here, in the room you're in the life you already hold. Because freedom doesn't come from escaping the world. It comes from bringing order to the one within. Number 8. The Stoic path, to grow, not to be flawless. But this, right here, is where most people stop, standing at the edge between the desire to grow and the fear of not being enough. You want to change, but the voice in your head whispers, "What if I fail?" Or, "What if they laugh at me?" You want to begin, but you find reasons to delay, because deep down you've bought into the lie that only when you're perfect will you be worthy of starting. The truth is, that's the mind's most seductive trap, the illusion of perfection. The 1% know that perfection isn't a destination, it's a prison. It keeps you standing still in the flow of life, afraid to get dirty, afraid to make mistakes, afraid to look foolish. Growth, on the other hand, means stepping into the muddy water, getting wet, scraped, and bruised along the way. The 1% understand that only action grinds fear down. They choose to start even when afraid, to try even when clumsy. The Stoics taught, better to make progress imperfectly than to be stuck perfectly still. Because if you wait for the perfect moment, you'll be waiting forever. Face what most won't admit. You're not really afraid of failing. You're afraid of being seen while you fail. You're not afraid of being wrong. You're afraid of others seeing you wrong. You're not afraid to start, but you're afraid no one will recognize your effort. And so, you stay where it feels safe, unjudged, unnoticed, unchallenged. It looks like peace, but it's really a golden cage built from fear. The 1% step out of that cage. They don't seek safety, they seek growth. They accept trembling hands, awkward steps, skeptical eyes, because they know that when weighed against progress, fear always loses its power. I once spoke with a man who gave up his dream of starting a business because he thought he wasn't ready. 5 years later, he looked back and said the thing he regretted most wasn't failing. It was never beginning. If I had just tried, he said, maybe I would have failed, but at least I would have known who I was. That's the essence of the Stoic path. Growth isn't about achieving everything. It's about becoming someone who can take full responsibility for their life. The Stoics called this autarkia, complete self-sufficiency. It's the moment you stop blaming circumstances, stop waiting for the world to change, and start mastering what's within your control. Every mistake becomes a teacher. Every small step is a reminder that you're moving forward. And each time you dare to face yourself honestly, you move closer to inner freedom, the kind no one can take from you. The 1% don't strive to look perfect, they strive to be real. They know that growth happens in unseen moments, when they struggle, when they stumble, when they get back up. The difference is, they don't stop. They understand that within today's imperfection lies the seed of tomorrow's greatness. So ask yourself, do you want to be admired for a flawless illusion or respected for genuine courage? Because the world doesn't need more people pretending to be strong. The world needs you, the one who dares to move forward while shaking, to try while uncertain, to live even knowing you'll fall short. And it's in that very moment, when you accept your imperfection but keep walking anyway, that you become part of the 1%. Not because you're better, but because you've chosen to grow. In the end, the journey to becoming the 1% isn't a race to outdo anyone else. It's a return to self-mastery. The 1% have no magic. They have consistency. They don't avoid pain. They learn to walk alongside it. They don't wish for an easier world. They train to become stronger within it. Step by step, day by day, they grow quietly. And one morning, they realize something profound. The greatest victory they've ever achieved isn't over the world. It's over their own mind. If you're still searching for direction, remember this. The path isn't for the perfect, it's for the brave. For those willing to begin, even when afraid, clumsy, or doubtful. Because as long as you keep moving, you're drawing closer to the strongest version of yourself. That is the essence of Stoicism, to think with reason, act with courage, and remain calm no matter the outcome. And if these words stirred something within you, a quiet flame, faint but alive, don't let it fade. Let this space be where you keep that flame burning, where you learn to live slower, deeper, and truer. Hit subscribe and walk with me on this journey, the journey of awareness, of inner strength, and of a life that truly matters. Starting today, starting with you.